Hey, I'm Johnny Dean, and I decided to do my TikTok on what is a concussion and how it would affect me if I get one. Let's start off with the basics. What is a concussion? A concussion is nothing more than a brain injury. The AANS.org defines it as a complex pathophysiological process affecting the brain induced by a biomechanical force. Now, what does that mean? That means that I cannot get a concussion by overdosing on medication. I cannot get a concussion by over or under eating. The only way for me to get a concussion is, for example, a lineman hitting me hard enough in football for my brain to move. Or like a car driver hitting me with a car. Those would be an example of a biomechanical force, a living person. Now this is what getting a concussion looks like. Now, what are some symptoms of a concussion? Some immediate symptoms of a concussion are things like headache, dizziness, confusion, or even as you just saw in the video, the football player had a loss of consciousness immediately. Some later onset problems would be things like memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and irritability. Right now, the NFL is having a problem with some of their retired players, that the retired players have had concussions in the past, and the retired players want the NFL to pay for their medical treatment to fix their brains that have had concussions. But the NFL won't do it, but that's a story for another day. Here are some statistics on concussions. In 2012, 3,800,000 people were reported with a concussion. If you take it to the fact that there were 314 million people in the United States at the time, that means that there was one person per every 82 people that had a concussion. That might not sound like much, but when half of those concussions occur during high school football, that's a lot of high school football players with concussions. You know, and it says right here too, 1 in 5 high school students will sustain a sports concussion during the season. So right now, I play on a basketball team at Cornerstone. If there are 15 players on that team, that means that 3 by the end of the season will have a concussion. How do I avoid a concussion? The best way for you to avoid a concussion is to do things like this. Play by the rules. Wear appropriate sports equipment. Like right now, I have on a baseball helmet. There's a football helmet right in front of me. You'll always want to wear those. Examine the playing field, look for uneven areas or holes. You want to make sure that the end posts are padded sufficiently. Practice good sportsmanship, a bunch of concussions happen and stuff like fighting, if I'm on a football field and another player gets mad at me when we fight, I can sustain a concussion from that. Practice good sportsmanship, like I said. Learn and use proper technique for your sport. In football, you can get penalized for things like illegal contact. Like I said earlier, you just want to learn and use a proper technique for your sport. And so here are my citations.